Hello, hello! I am here for the office hour. I think it's office hour number 12. Who knew? This has been 3 months, more or less, that I've been making these office hours. Lisa, how are you? So I want to talk about relationships. And having Lisa right here, this is actually going to be an interesting one because there's a lot I want to say about relationships. Like so much that I don't even know where to begin. But I'm going to begin by saying that we all have relationships. And most of them we want. Then there are relationships we do not want. And I'm going to navigate today's office hour with both. With how to navigate through relationships we want and how to navigate through relationships we don't want. Where do you want me to start? Any input? Well, I'm going to start with the less exciting one. Or actually, they're both exciting in different ways. So, all right, let me see. I'm going to start with the difficult relationship ones. We all have them. And I just wanted to say one or two things about them. The first thing I want to say, yes, you can leave them. And yes, you should be with them. One, because you're going to learn so much about yourself. And don't keep them in there forever. And please, if you're here, want to join? And so the whole point about this is that I want to grow. And I cannot grow with only positive and things that work out well. So, actually, difficult relationship can also be the ones that we want in our lives. And as long as they are sporadic, right? So meaning, I've had my fair shares with a ton of people that I've had difficult relationships with that I dearly love today. And here I don't want to say here is one, but here is one. Let's see. I wanted to make sure you're available.
I'm here.
So yes, talking about relationships and why we need the good and the bad. Because I don't know if you heard, but I wanted to say that we need both. We need the relationships we don't want in our lives as well as the ones we want. Because the only way to grow is by having the ability to go through difficult moments. And we've had our share, right?
A couple.
There you can see a couple. It's not just one, it's a couple of them. But the one thing I recognize, and you're not the only one, Lisa, there's a few dear friends that I could name here that know we've had some difficult situations happening. Eva, one of them. Christina, another one of them. All of my dear friends that are so important in my life, and obviously Lisa, is what I've recognized is that the relationship after that burst out or that this disagreement or whatever it was became deeper. And I think that doesn't work with every relationship. And obviously, Lisa and I had a brief, not obviously, but the Lisa and I had a brief conversation before today, like earlier today, about, well, which ones and how do we want them in our lives? And so I think there's just a healthy distance to keep the ones that keep on bringing on these challenging
Hmm.
situations, and then there are some that you grow from, and you can create a deeper relationship. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, I think, you get into, relationships that, you hear the term toxic, things that don't serve you. Um, Obviously, like you said at the top of the conversation, is sometimes it is good to leave and knowing when to leave. Obviously, if you're in physical danger of harm of some kind, even mental abuse. But other than that, just every day, I think we're talking more about everyday disagreements, um, perspective differences, things like that. We have to decide, is this relationship worth going through some of these challenges that we have? And, I have relationships that are 30 years besides my family, like friends that I've known over 30 years. And we have a commitment to each other that we're friends. And that means sometimes we have difficult discussions and times when it's not, the greatest, but we care about each other, love each other, and we're always friends. We'll figure it out. Sometimes we need our space. But yeah, we just knowing the difference. And day-to-day life, I think what we were talking about earlier, and you can continue talking about this, is that when we stay open on both sides, we can experience expansion and deeper relationships with people who maybe we're growing in relationship with, whether it's a long-term relationship we've been in or new relationships. Because I think especially in new relationships, people you meet online, like we met online, or new people we meet, it's good to just stay open for a long time, because there's a lot we don't know about that person, and they may be coming into conversation with you bringing all of that, which normally people do. You bring yourself and everything, your experiences with you, and it might not come across the way that they mean it or we mean it. And so it takes a while to kind of get past the surface to have a real relationship.
Yeah, you're right. It takes a long time, like I feel like we have the tendency to quickly like someone and get along and have a lot of things in common. But the moment you dig a little deeper, and like, I'll just use us as an example, right? We met online, what, like 4 years ago or some, right? This year was
Mm-hmm.
the first time we spent time together. You came to my home. And especially in those moments when you all of a sudden enter something that is like online, right, into physical space, is of the unknown, right? We all function differently in certain areas in our lives. And like, for example, there is a friend I know now for a few years, 2, 3 years, that I've met in person, right? But
Mm-hmm.
this year was the first time she came into my home. And so what's interesting is that that is the neutral space, right? Like meeting someone outdoors, meeting someone in a coffee shop or a restaurant. That's like the first step. You don't immediately, someone that you just met, you invite into your home, right? Meaning, if I would have met you last year, I would have not invited you to my home, right? As much as I would want to. But like, there is still this comprehension inside of us that no matter how we feel about someone, on one level, might not make it past another level, right? Like doing a gaming experience. And so I think you said it right about this staying open is and long open. Like even if you're together in a long-term relationship, like I've been with my spouse for 22 years now, right? 21 years. And
Mm-hmm.
so being together for this long doesn't mean I won't have any surprises all of a sudden, right? And I saw something. Oh, so I was watching, from what's her name? Not Amanda. From Twitch, his wife. He passed away 2022, so 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, he passed away. They're in the limelight. He's like a dancer and such, and they met, and they've been together for 13 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? They've been together for 13 years, and he ended up taking his life Even though he had a family of 3 kids, they seemed to be happy, but something inside of him wasn't, right? And so there are these surprises sometimes that are happening that we don't know why. We've known each other for 13 years, she said. Like, how did I not see this? And so we get into this place in a relationship where we see the person that we see the way they are in our eyes, but we never get past a certain point because they are not open about themselves, right? So I'm just using this as an example, not to go down the rabbit hole about this relationship, but just as a demonstration of like, how much do we know about one another? How much do we know about ourselves that we are willing to share? Because even in my book, I talk about being honest with oneself, and that is the absolute most important thing. And if I can be honest with myself, I have more chances to be honest with someone else. So what are some thoughts about honesty while staying open?
Well, and what you were talking about in that scenario brings up the things about mental health for me, and being honest with yourself, and the work that I do with affirmations are so important because they're talking into self-worth, self-love, and those people that struggle with those mental health issues and ultimately do commit suicide, it's tragic. And I can't begin to understand completely the depth of that, but there's a lot of shame that goes along with that, and there's a reason those people don't share about it, because it's a cultural thing, is they put on a facade that everything is okay, and even in the deeper, most meaningful relationships, they keep it a secret. And so, hopefully, I hope the work that I can do can help someone be more open and feel strongly confident enough to share it with somebody, anyone that cares about them, or maybe somebody that I don't know that can help them, because there's going to be someone on the other side when they leave that cares so much and deeply hurt that they've left. And it's not a small thing. So that's really what stood out to me, and that even those of us who don't struggle with mental health, I have, and to some degree, but not to that extent. And that's why I do the work that I do, to try to help people be more confident and brave. And now we're in these conversations to be honest, and because honesty gives you the most authentic, true relationships, and that makes a richer life. So that was a little bit down the rabbit hole, but I felt like it was important enough to say, because there are people that feel really like they're not able to share that with somebody. So I really want to create a safe space for people at Soul Quest Retreat and in the work I do privately, because most people don't want to share something like that. And when you get into a relationship, not that it's always that serious, let's hope. Right?
For
Like
sure.
that's really very, very serious. And that's why I didn't want to pass over that, because I do meet people along the path that have these issues and they need, some professional support. And I encourage whoever is struggling with that, please do reach out to someone, anyone who can help you, because there are many loved ones in your life that care that you're here on this planet. So.
Yeah, and I think it really leads to allowing to ask for help is not meaning that you're weak or that
Right.
you're not worthy. And I think in this particular example, I haven't finished the whole conversation that she had about, getting to know the situation better after 2.5 years later. But what she definitely said was that there was this pressure of having to be there for others and not being afraid to share their own challenges with others. And I think this is really a societal issue, right? It's like having the capacity, not only the capacity, but the bravery and courage to speak about something. And even if that means asking, that's why obviously I think it's a positive thing that therapy is becoming something accessible, something that everybody kind of is doing, right? When it comes to these serious moments, because that is a safe place where someone you don't know can support you in, that maybe you don't feel like you're burdening other people. And just in a past session on Monday, we briefly talked about this because we all are a little different, right? Some of us, we want the support, and some of us are like, I can figure it out myself. I'm belonging to those people, right? And I know I can figure it out, but I'm sure that there's going to be something in my life that I would maybe need help. And obviously, I think in this environment that I find myself in with you and other people that are already in the field of, being therapists in some shape or form, obviously makes it easier to talk about certain things that come up. And I think one important thing that I'm very driven in is to be able to first feel our emotions and be connected to how we're feeling, because if we don't even know how we're feeling, how we're even going to share how we're feeling? Because I think that's another thing we don't learn is feeling.
Well, and dealing with it, like I did have an experience this fall with a person that I've known for quite a long time who saw my color affirmation deck for the first time, and it's all about social emotional relationships and the emotional response, and that person was so out of touch with their emotion that they could not read the affirmations without crying. So yes, I mean, understanding how we're feeling, how we interact with emotions just for ourselves, and then how is it with relationships, you know?
Yeah, and I think relationships, to me, it starts with having a relationship with myself, because
Yeah.
I can only have a deep and connective relationship with others if it exists within myself, because otherwise it's a deflection of how I have a relationship with myself. And I think it's one of the hardest things, because again, in my opinion, I don't think it's something that we're learning. I don't think we're learning how to have relationships, period, right? Like,
Yeah.
we don't learn how to have a relationship with our parents, have a relationship. Like, we just have to figure it out. Like, that's really, if you think about it, you don't learn how to do that. And
Right.
so I think that's really something that sticks out to me in this conversation, is that relationships are learned. It's something that we technically, it's innate to us, but at the same time, how our environment is structured, it's either through work or it's through like an organized environment that they happen. But what happens within them is really not something that you know how to do, really. Like, yeah, you do, but you don't. You know what I mean? Like, it's a trial and error, and that's why some work and some don't. And I think for me, it definitely starts with honesty.
Yeah. Yeah, I think about this person with the emotions and that person not being able to actually feel for themselves. How does that look in a relationship then? Consider that. And so it does start with you, and it starts within, at the core, like, how do you feel about things, and how do you interact and react, which can mean react sounds kind of negative sometimes, but it could be positive. Every time we're in a relationship, interacting in that relationship emotionally and verbally is a choice, and can be relearned, because we learn a certain way as we grow up, but there are ways that we can do better, right? That's what I always try to do, better than maybe I did when I was younger. I at least attempt to.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the other piece that you were saying, oh, hold on, trying to it's like lost the train of thought. It's happened to me this week a little bit, but anyway, there was something you said.
Reaction.
Yes, correct. That's right.
I
Reaction.
know you.
I know you know me. No, so I am very strong in reaction. I am very expressive on my emotions, and they don't always arrive very safely on the other side.
And may I
yes,
interject,
yes,
the
please.
first reaction may not be the final reaction.
There you go. Yes, exactly. But I think what you said is correct. It's like, but at least there is something happening, right? There is an emotion happening. So that's why you should definitely surround yourself with people who are not going to judge you for your initial reaction and will stay with you until you completely process your
I'm
whole
buckled in.
thing.
I'm buckled in for the ride.
Exactly. So I think there is this healthy version of expressing yourself and being around people that acknowledge that we need to express ourselves in some shape or form and have that environment for you. So I think, to me, like the strong emotion of sadness, anger, frustration, or whatever other things that would describe your strong reactions to things, are very helpful because they signal immediately like something's not right, right?
Mhm.
Meaning, yes, like you said, there has to be another check-in to see like, okay, I have this strong reaction, now what else? And not leave it at this, because it will be unsettling, and that is not the final word on how we actually feel. It's just an initial jot jolt of like reaction in your body, a chemical reaction that is happening from your sensories into your body, that is being translated with your past experiences and perceptions, that then creates something in you. At least that's how I describe it for me, because that's how anger happens in me. And then all of a sudden it's like this whole explosion of expression. And I was fortunate enough to be in an environment growing up to be able to express it strongly. But many of us don't have this experience, that either get shut down or being told that what's wrong with you, you should not be so strong about these emotions, like you did something wrong, meaning you don't feel like you have the right to feel a certain way. That then obviously has to, like you said again, relearn on how to connect to these emotions. Because one reason that some people cannot express their emotions, at least from how I experienced it, is that it's been shut down and told that you can't have emotions. And so to relearn that experience, at least for some, is very significant to actually not have a hostile relationship with emotions, but also not fostering it inside of you, that at some point will express itself in different ways.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you have any additional thoughts around emotions or relationships?
I would say that the analogy that I was thinking of, it might help somebody who's listening, is as a musician, you've played a string instrument, there's muscle memory. So you can think of it like that as well, as like that muscle memory in our fingers. I'm hoping I have it when I get my cello back. But certain things come naturally because you learn them, you have them ingrained, like walking. Your muscles know what to do, and it doesn't take as long to relearn after a long time. And I think emotions can be that way, is that we react because that's the natural response we have, but it doesn't have to be. We don't have to use that muscle memory. In that case, we can train it to do something new, which is what art can do. That's what I like to do, is do art activities to retrain a certain thought or way of doing things. Doing some of these practices can help us retrain patterns in our life that we might want to do differently.
No.
Beliefs, thoughts, habits, mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, so luckily you didn't know me 20 years ago.
That's probably good on both sides. I don't know.
Well, because yeah, at the end of the day, we all can be better. We can all grow. And these relationships, these experiences we're having with the ones we like and dislike, we can just grow, become better people, and have better ideas on what works and what doesn't work. And we can then deepen these relationships to something fruitful and beautiful. And so, yeah. Any final thoughts?
I don't think so. It's good to be live on your channel. I
I
made
know how great
it.
is that. We're like tic tacking each other.
Yeah. I'll get on here, make a few minutes.
There you go. Well, I was happy to have you to bring some input on the work that you do, on how you can enrich people's lives, be it through their through the relationship to themselves and also relationships to one another. And I'm happy that we can together help one another to enhance other people's lives and to just be more alive and connected. So yeah.
The word I was coming up was nurture, nurture the relationships.
Yes, for sure. So let's keep on doing that. We're gonna be back together on Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern time. That is 10 a.m. Mountain,
Mountain
no,
Standard.
Mountain
Yep.
Standard.
We'll draw an
That is
affirmation and I'm sure we'll have another interesting
for
conversation.
sure. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon. And if you have any questions for office hours for next time, please let me know in the comments, direct message me, whatever you want. And we'll be talking about it next week, probably same time, same place. All right. Take care.
Ciao.
Bye.